Hi there, I'm Rick Payway for Gone Jeepin'. We're here with Tracy Clark and Chris Collard on the Gone Jeepin' crew. We're here to introduce you again to Mike Picard of the Thirsty Dirt Ranch and the 15th annual Fall Color Tour. So this is a special one this year, and for you, those of you listening, you're one of the 50 lucky participants. This is where you're going to get some of the best information directly from Mike, and that'll help you on all you do, guys, going to the Fall Color Tour. Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. And hello, Chris, and hello, Tracy. This is the 15th annual event that we've held, and the video is tailored towards the 50 lucky selectees from our lottery that we held earlier this month. Alternates are welcome to view the video in preparation for being selected if any of the primaries happen to drop out. But at this point, for the lucky 50, this is your package of information.
That's cool. Yeah, I know you have like probably at least 50 to 100 alternates if someone drops out.
I've got about 60 alternates that signed up for this year, and some have already chosen to drop out, but most of them are hanging on with the hopes that I'll reach out to them and bring them into the front 50. And I've already done that with 2 of my alternates.
Oh, that's great. So those are the lucky 2 so far. So let's get into part of this. Tell us about the lodging options there at the ranch and in the local area there around Buena Vista.
Sure. For places to stay while you're here, because this is a week-long event, we've got hotels, motels, and bed and breakfast places in and around this valley in Buena Vista and in Salida. If you contact the Chamber of Commerce for both of those communities, they can give you a listing of the different hotels, motels, and bed and breakfasts in this valley. We also have a couple of local campgrounds. We've got a private campground, Chalk Creek, which is only about 2 miles away. And we also have a KOA right outside of Buena Vista if you choose to use a commercial campground. What about half of our participants like to do is camp here at the Thirsty Dirt Ranch.
Right.
And so I make space available for them to do that.
So at your own property, the Thirsty Dirt Ranch, what do you have? Mountains, cactus, hills, flat area?
Yeah, I've got 15 acres of cactus and wind.
Perfect.
And I pulled most of the cactus, so it's mostly just wind now. But yeah, basically I've got fairly level ground that I mow to provide camp sites and parking areas. I bring in portable toilets. I've built a shower house and I have that available. It's a 2-stall shower house. For those that need electric power, like for a CPAP machine, I have electric power available around my shop on the outside. I also have water available. I've got a very good well, and I'm only about 6 miles from the mountain source for that water. And you can see that mountain source right behind me.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
A lot of folks have asked me about campfires here at Thirsty Dirt since they're camping out.
Yeah.
Usually in September, we in Chaffee County are under a fire ban. So unless you can turn it off with a flip of a switch, like a propane campfire, we can't have campfires, and they usually prohibit charcoal grills as well, because you can't just shut them off.
Right, and that's the important thing, especially during fire season. That wind really can whip up too.
It can, and it'll do it in very short notice, and it'll take embers from a real fire and run it through the grass, and pretty soon we'll have a raging grass fire headed for my neighbor's house, and they don't like that.
Yeah.
The other thing I would caution everybody is if you're going to camp in a tent, make sure that you bring some extra rope or cord with you and some tent stakes so that you can stake it out to resist the winds, because we do get some pretty strong winds here. We're fortunate that in September, weather is generally very mild. However, we do get winds up to 50 miles an hour and sometimes higher here almost every month of the year.
That's a lot of wind. Yep. All right. So no fires, stake your tent down adequately. And like you said, you have plenty of parking. So if you're trailering your vehicle, there's plenty of places where you can drop your trailer as well.
Yep, I'll have a big area out behind the shop that'll be mowed, and it's specifically for parking trailers. So if you've got a truck and a trailer, or just a trailer that you want to leave here so that you can drive to and from your motel in your pickup truck, you're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah, works out a lot better than parking a trailer at a hotel.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, you mentioned your shop right in the center of things. What kind of a shop? How big, and what goes on in there?
Well, I've got a fairly large shop. It's about 4,000 square feet. Some of the things I have inside, I've got a 2-post lift that's set up for raising Jeeps. I've got hand tools, I've got air tools, all kinds of fluids if you need to be topped off. I've got cleaning supplies. The other thing that I have quite a few of is spare parts. And I try to build up my collection of spare parts, including rebuilt transmissions, because it seems like we've had to replace transmissions almost every year in the last 4 or 5 years. So we're set to do that. The other thing that we offer in there is what we call the coffee corner. Every morning at 5:30, I've got a 100-cup coffee pot that percolates, and it's just a nice gathering place for folks first thing in the morning. A hot cup of coffee, and there you go. Yep, and sit down and enjoy a cup, visit with new friends, visit with old friends, and that's every morning at starting at 5:30. The other thing that we're getting in this year, and I'm hopeful that we'll have it set up in time for Fall Color Tour, is a tire changer. We've had some years where we've had to change as many as 20 tires during the course of the week to repair tires or replace flats. And
that's awesome.
Through the generosity of a couple of regular attendees here for Fall Color Tour, it looks like I'm going to be able to get a tire changing machine to put into the shop.
Wow, that'll be very popular.
I hope it gets used. Not too often, but I hope it gets used.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, that's awesome then. And like you said, that's a nice shop, so the door is closed. You don't have to worry about the weather outside. But what is the weather during the trip? I mean, it's fall, obviously, Fall Color Tour, so it's going to be a bit nippy. What do you suggest that everybody bring?
Well, plan for at least 3 seasons. Warm summer days, because in the afternoons, we'll be in the 70s, generally speaking. At night and first thing in the morning, we may see temperatures in the 20s, usually in the 30s, sometimes in the 40s. So a jacket, a sweatshirt, dressing in layers, that's appropriate. Plus, if we're leaving at 9 o'clock in the morning and it's 42 degrees, going 40 miles an hour, if you're not wearing some kind of a jacket, you are going to be one chilly jeeper.
So you got everything: sun, snow, rain, blow, everything you want. Or it could be just perfectly sunny the whole time.
It could be, and the majority of our Fall Color Tours, that is the weather that we get in September, is sunshine and blue skies. Like I said, you're going to be warm in the afternoons, you're going to be chilly in the mornings, but be prepared for rain, because we do get thunderstorms that time of year. They'll blow through, they'll be short duration. We may end up having to drive through one on a tour, so be prepared for that. bring some wet weather gear, bring a tarp you can use to cover the top of your Jeep, or a top that you can put up with the Jeep to handle that cold rain. And it is cold rain.
Well, not only is it fall during the tour, but you're also at altitude. How high are you at the ranch, and how does that affect people and the Jeeps?
We're at 8,000 feet here at Thirsty Dirt Ranch, and all of our tours go up from here. Some as high as 13,000 feet. And if you think that air doesn't get thin up there, it does. However, for getting your machines to run well, one of the things that we offer as a free service here at the ranch in the shop is a tune-up using vacuum gauges, because we find for elevation changes, the vacuum gauge tune-up seems to get the best performance out of an engine.
Yeah.
So whatever you're tuned for, 600 feet or even 6,000 feet, when you come up here, if you'd like to, we can retune it using the gauge and get your peak performance out of your engine. Now, for you personally, you're going to want to do a couple of things. The big one is stay hydrated. Drinking lots of water, that will help you with the elevation. That will help you with the dry air that we have, because the relative humidities will get down into single digits in the afternoons. So drink lots of water while you're on the trail. And if you start feeling the sensations of headaches or nausea or something like that, let your guide know, because that's a sure sign, a front sign of altitude sickness. We've had very few cases of that with healthy people here on the tour, but we have had an occasional person with altitude sickness.
Yeah, it does happen. So it's best to take care of it in the beginning. Make sure you hydrate. It's pretty critical at that altitude.
It is. It's part of living up here. It's part of being up here and enjoying the experience, as opposed to just enduring the experience.
Exactly. Well, let's enjoy it. What about the vehicle, though? You obviously you'll help tune up Jeeps if they're there and they need it, but what should you do before you come? Vehicle prep, shall we say?
Yes, vehicle prep is a very important aspect of participating here, and I hope that everybody takes the time to do some of these things. And some of it is fundamental maintenance, brake checks, fluid checks, finding spare parts, putting some recovery tools, self-recovery tools in your vehicle, so that if somebody else comes along and you're broken down, if they don't have recovery tools, then maybe you've got the tow strap or the jumper cable that you need in order to fix you. And you can use them to fix somebody else as well. Spare tires. Like I mentioned before, we've had as many as 20 tires go flat during the course of a fall color tour week. So having a spare tire is generally a very desirable thing to have. Because we travel in groups, there's almost always going to be someone with a spare tire that they could loan you if you don't have your own. But I highly encourage everyone to have 5 tires with their Jeep.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than loaning out your spare tire and then needing it yourself. So don't be that guy. Bring a spare.
That's exactly right. Yeah, yes. A lot of folks have asked me about gas cans, packing extra fuel along on the trips. All of our trips are day trips, and except for a few of the high adventure rides going over into Gunnison County, you're not going to need a gas can on your vehicle during the day. We're going to travel a short enough distance, generally 75 to maybe 100 miles, that you can make the entire trip just on the gas in your gas tank, as long as you've filled it up the night before. If you've topped off the night before, then you're going to be golden all day long.
Perfect. I was saying, why don't you tell us about the trails?
We've got a variety of trail difficulties that we offer. Some of them are as simple and mundane as a graded gravel county road. Most of them are Forest Service roads, single lane, perhaps 2-lane, some gravel, some native dirt, some made out of rock. And the majority of the trails are designed so that anybody with any Jeep, even a trailer queen type of Jeep, can make it down the trail without damage to the vehicle, and still enjoy great views and the challenge of having to use 4-wheel drive, low range, because we will put you in that situation every day on almost every trail.
Well, that's like the photo behind me is actually on Fall Color Tour a couple of years ago. So that may have been a little bit of a rougher line than most, but still, a stock Jeep can make it on the trails that you design, correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah, in fact, I think the trail in your photo was probably Chinaman's Gulch, and that's one of our high adventure trails where you do get the opportunity to really challenge yourself as a driver and see what your Jeep is set up to be able to do. And we do have a few of those trails in the mix for those who really want to reach out and test themselves.
Mm-hmm. So on this list, when are you going to let us know about the choices? And do you have a list? When will that be available?
Yes, we do offer choices. Every day we have at least 2 trail rides. Sometimes we'll have 3 in each day. The trail rides are long enough that you're not going to be able to go out on one trail and then go out on another trail later that day. Each trail is going to take all day. We'll publish a list of what the trails are in June, by the end of June. I'm currently talking with my guides to see which trails they want to drive this year and look at which ones we haven't offered for a couple of years so that we can get those back on the list. We've got a choice of about 30 different destinations or trails that we can choose from. And so we offer between 10 and 12 trails on Monday through Friday each week.
And Friday, that's the one trail, the Grand Trail, correct?
That's usually the Grand Tour up and over Aspen Ridge. We'll get the entire group out there. We'll split them into 2 groups. One will go north, one will go south, and then they drive towards each other right up until lunchtime. And we try to coordinate lunch so that we all get together and we can all enjoy lunch at a scenic spot with beautiful aspen in the background. And then the 2 groups split up and either continue north or continue south and circle back around until they arrive back at Thirsty Dirt Ranch sometime mid to late afternoon.
So that's the chance to get all 50 Jeeps, hopefully all 50 Jeeps, together at one time for lunch on the Grand Ride.
That's exactly right.
Cool. Well, how about telling us about the daily routine? How does everything work?
Each day starts at 5:30 in the morning with the coffee pot percolating. And there are some folks that, yeah, there you go, feeling chilly or just want to socialize for an hour or 2 before breakfast. Come into the shop and get yourself a cup of coffee. At 8:30 that morning, we'll have a driver's meeting, and we hold that out in front of the shop. You'll hear a bell ringing, and that's the sign to gather around the driver's meeting. And the meeting's not just for drivers, it's for everybody, passengers as well, so that they can learn about what's going on that day, what trails are being driven, make any last minute adjustments to the gear that they're bringing, and then figure out, okay, which guide am I following, and get in the right line with your Jeep. About 9 o'clock, we start kicking the convoys off the ranch and down the road, headed for some high country adventure. Lunches are always on the trail. We don't stop at restaurants or gas stations or anything like that for a quick snack, other than perhaps on the way back home. But once we leave the ranch, we're headed for high country and high trails. So you need to pack your lunch with you. We always come back in the afternoon, with the possible exception of some of the high adventure trails, which have come back as late as 11 o'clock at night. So if you're on a high adventure trail, pack lunch and supper because you may need it. Yes, exactly. When you do get back to the ranch in the afternoon, that's a great time to drive over to the local gas station and refuel your Jeeps. We have a gas station that's only about 4 miles away from the ranch that does offer the premium unleaded without alcohol in it. So it's real gas. And if you've ever driven at high elevations, you know that vapor lock can be a real big problem. If you get real gas instead of ethanol laced gas, you're going to have far fewer problems with the vapor lock on the trail. So I recommend that.
Well, that's one of the things about gasoline that a lot of people don't know. High altitude gas, like what's sold in your area, has a different boiling point or a vapor pressure than, say, something in lower California. So if you bring gas with you, it isn't necessarily as good as what you're going to find, especially at your local gas station, without the ethanol.
Yes. So save yourself the trouble of packing gas with you coming out. Buy it here locally. It's formulated for elevation. Plus, like I said, we have the non-ethanol gas available, and that'll make a big difference out on the trail. In the evenings, here at the ranch, in the shop, we do a lot of different things. Sometimes it's just Jeep maintenance or Jeep repairs. We'll have a lot of people turning wrenches and squirting grease and doing whatever they need to do to keep their Jeep running for the next day. We also, for anybody who's an amateur musician or a talented musician, they're welcome to bring instruments, and we end up having sing-alongs or just jam sessions inside the shop, and those can go on for quite a while. It's a good time to visit with new friends that you've made and revisit with old friends. It's a good time to enjoy a beverage and just relax for the evening, knowing your Jeep is ready for tomorrow, and so are you.
Yeah, unless of course you have to start working on it, be ready for the next day. So what about our furry friends, our pets? Can we bring pets?
Yeah, we would prefer not to have any cats around. Here at Thirsty Dirt Ranch, we have 1 cat and 1 dog. We'd like to keep them both. Dogs, so we'd prefer no cats because our cat doesn't like other cats. Our dog is not a cat chaser, so that part is safe. For dogs, if they're aggressive in any way, there's a potential for them to bite someone. I don't need that kind of headache here. Leave that dog at home or with somebody else. If they're cat chasers, I don't need that dog here either. I like to keep my cats. I keep losing them to coyotes, but I want to keep the ones I have. If they bark a lot, I prefer not to have those dogs here. Nobody wants to hear them barking all night long. And my neighbors don't want to hear them barking all day long if you were to leave them here at the ranch while we all go jeeping. So one of my requirements is if you do bring a dog, take the dog jeeping with you. Hopefully the dog enjoys it and will be a good companion for you, but take the dog with you. So that way my neighbors don't have to endure a pack of dogs barking at each other. And that's basically it for pets. Nobody's asked about monkeys or anything like that. So I haven't come up with any requirements that way.
Yeah, well, I can understand that. So what do we do about food? Food is probably almost as important as water.
Yes, it is. And everybody's going to want to enjoy it every day. So meals, you're on your own. Bring whatever you want to fix for breakfast, or go to local restaurants and they'll fix breakfast for you. Now, be aware that during this same week, Buena Vista is offering their fall color tour for ATV enthusiasts at the same time. And they get 300 to 400 people coming into town for that event. So 2 things that means: 1, hotel rooms fill up fast. 2, restaurants fill up fast during meals. So just be aware of that. Salida is not such a problem. Most of the ATVers don't stay in Salida because the activities all center in Buena Vista. There are some very good restaurants for breakfast and also for dinner in both communities. And the Chambers of Commerce has a list of all those different restaurants. And so you can pick and choose. If you want some personal advice, I'm happy to help you with recommendations based on the type of food you like to eat. Or fix it yourself right here on the ranch.
Yeah, that's what half the people do while they're camped out at your place. On propane stove, of course.
On propane or gasoline stoves, absolutely. And so it smells pretty good around here in the morning.
Well, we got the food figured out. What about drivers training when newbies get there at the beginning of the week? Do you offer certain tips and tricks?
Yes, we do. We found that over the years that folks who have never been out here jeeping in the Rockies may operate under some odd assumptions as to what to do and how to do it when driving in the mountains. And so we offer an afternoon academy teaching these people about safe driving habits here in the mountains, what to do, how to do it. And we even have 2 practical exercises. One of them is here on the ranch, where we have them drive down and then back up about a 45-degree slope. And it's all about learning how to use the clutch and when to use it or not. And so a guide will travel with you down the hill and then back up the hill to talk to you about that kind of experience. And then we also like to take all the new folks out on a short ride that's about an hour or 2 hours long into the national forest just west of the ranch and give them the opportunity to test their Jeep at 8,000 to 9,000 feet elevation to see how it's going to run. Does it need that vacuum gauge tune-up, or did they do a good job of setting it up at home? And what other things might they need to adjust, touch up, or just leave alone? So that we offer that ride, and not just to new folks, but to older experienced folks. Maybe they've got a new Jeep along, or maybe they just want to go out and see some color and enjoy a beautiful Sunday afternoon drive.
All right, so the training is Sunday afternoon. That's great.
Yes, Sunday afternoon. We usually start at about 1 o'clock and go until about 3, perhaps 4 o'clock, depending on how long the ride is.
Right.
And feedback that we've gotten from newbies in the past is it was very valuable for them, kind of opened their eyes to some different things that they hadn't considered, driving in the mountains or just driving at elevation. And the goal of having that is so that everybody can have a more enjoyable experience while they're here. If they're having to fight with their Jeep going up and down the mountains, that's not enjoyable. We want it to be a pleasant experience for them. And so we share our knowledge and our experience driving in the mountains to help them have a better time.
So you'll go over things like how to drive in a convoy, like keeping the guy behind you in sight, keeping the guy in front of you in sight, and then, of course, trail communications to your radios.
Yes, we'll talk about a number of different things. Convoy operations is a big one because we do get out on state and county highways occasionally, getting to and from our planned rides. And we travel in a group, literally in a convoy down the road. And I've worked with the local state police as well as the county sheriff's office on what is probably the safest way for us to do that. And they recommend that we do the convoy. We'll use the shoulder of the road on some roads. Some roads will be out in the regular travel lane. And most of these roads have a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit. We're only going to be driving 40 miles an hour. That's our convoy speed, getting to and from wherever we're going to be that day. So we'll talk about that, and we'll give people a chance to experience a little bit of that. Now, you mentioned communications, and I think that's a very key item. Keeping everybody informed and involved in what's going on and what's happening. Sharing tidbits of local history while we're traveling down the trails. And if somebody has an unexpected stop because of a flat tire, vapor lock, or something like that, it lets the three guides know, yep, this is happening right now. We can stop the convoy and not split into 2 or 3 or 4 groups because we don't know what's happening behind us. So convoy operations, communications is very key. We recommend FRS, Family Radio Service radios, for use while we're here. That's the frequency set that we use, and it will change depending on who you're driving with and what tour you're going on. So that's where participation in the driver's meeting becomes important. We'll make those announcements each morning. And we can help you technically with changing the frequencies and things like that if you want. But having a radio, very important. I do have a few radios that I'm able to loan out to folks, but that's a limited selection, and I really hope that most folks will bring their own radios so they can be responsible for them and learn to use them.
Right, right. Having that radio is important. So when when people arrive, first off, what do they do? What do they do? How do they get there? And what time can they arrive? And what about dust control? You have neighbors.
Yes, I do. I live in a wide open subdivision of about 45 homes, and all our roads are native dirt roads. So we can generate quite a bit of dust, and we've had problems with that in the past. So I would ask each operator, each driver as they come in, to slow their speed down between 10 and 20 miles an hour while they're transiting on the gravel and or dirt roads. And then while you're on Thirsty Dirt Ranch, keep your speed down to about 5 miles an hour, because we'll have kids, we'll have dogs, we'll have other Jeeps who aren't necessarily paying attention to where you're going. And we don't want to have any accidents. Knock on wood, we haven't had any yet. And I want to keep it that way so that everybody continues to have a good time. So keeping speed down, that's critical. Now, when you're coming in, most GPSs can take you right to the Thirsty Dirt Ranch. And we'll have signs up on both sides of the little road that we live on. Our little road's about 100 yards long. But I'll have signs up at the beginning of the road to let you know that, yep, you found the right place. When you come in, first thing you want to do is drive up to the shop. And myself or one of the other guides will meet you there and greet you and kind of let you know what's where here on the ranch. After you've come in, met one of us, and gone and found a parking spot, either for your Jeep or for your travel trailer or whatever you're hauling, I'd like for you to look up Nancy or Kate. Nancy's my wife, Kate's my sister, and they handle the administrivia of registration. So we want to make sure that your registration form is current, that you haven't smuggled somebody else in that we don't know about. And or if somebody else dropped off, we'd like to know that too. So visit with one of those two ladies, and we'll get your registration squared away for the beginning of the week.
That makes sense.
Yes. Now, one of the things we are going to do for folks that are staying in hotels or bed and breakfasts off site, when they come into the ranch in the morning, because the ranch is headquarters, that's where we start all the tours. When they come into the ranch in the morning, we're going to divert their traffic around the hub of the ranch, the area between the house and the shop, because that area gets very congested very quickly with Jeeps trying to position themselves, get ready to go on a ride. And we've had some folks come in with big trucks, try to squeeze through all these tiny Jeeps, and it's like moving jigsaw puzzle. So we're going to implement some traffic control to hopefully alleviate that problem here this coming year.
That's good. So all those people coming from town, how far away is BV, Buena Vista, and what about parts stores and stuff?
Well, Buena Vista is about 12 miles away. Salida is about 25 miles away. Both towns have parts stores. They have a Napa store. Each town has a CarQuest store. Salida has also got an O'Reilly's parts store. So, whatever your flavor for parts.
I think I've actually used all of them, Mike.
Yeah, I think you have, Rick. I really do.
Yeah.
And I know I have. And, for most parts, because of the age, they won't have them on hand unless it's something generic, like maybe spark plug wires. But they can order it, and if you order it by 4 p.m, they can usually get it up there on the overnight shipment and have it ready to pick up at 7:30 the next morning.
Yeah, and that's pretty important because a lot of the guys are pretty knowledgeable at the stores, and some of them even speak old Jeep, which is very, very critical. Now, if I just wanted beer and ice, I believe it's the Sugar Shack is what, 2 miles from you, around the corner, and that's your ice and fuel station.
Yes, it's just about, it's about 3.5 to 4 miles away. That's the gas station that offers the non-ethanol premium gas. And yes, they do have a big ice cooler out front. They have snacks. They have beer, milk, some basic commodities, not very many things, but a few things, enough to get you by. But if you're looking for a selection of beers or a selection of wines or other liquors, go to the stores in town. You'll find pretty good offerings at most of the liquor stores if you're looking for that.
Right. We have 2 grocery stores. You have just about everything. It's a regular town.
Yes, Salida is a full service community, and we do have a regional hospital there in case anybody does suffer an injury or an illness. They take very good care of you down there. I've been a patient in that hospital more times than I'd care to remember.
Well,
but
let's not make it this trip.
I've always come out the other end feeling healthy.
Exactly. Hey, Chris, you got any questions?
I did have a question, actually, Mike. I'm super looking forward to the event. Hopefully I get on the list, but if anything, hopefully I'll be riding with some of the Gun Jeep and crew. Tell us about the Thirsty Dirt Ranch. I keep hearing this and I'm like, tell us the story behind that.
Okay. I bought this place about 16 years ago, and I had moved from the Pacific Northwest, where we had quite a bit of rain, and it was easy to grow stuff up there. Good soil, good water. And I moved down here with my job and took a look around on the ranch and realized very quickly this is a harsh environment and a tough place to grow anything, which is why at the outset I said I bought 15 acres of cactus and wind. So yeah, when you're here, if you pour something out on the ground, it's not going to puddle up. It's going to disappear in moments. And that's just the way the ground is. It's very porous, and it's very poor. All the trees that I have out here on the ranch, all of them are on drip irrigation. I've got over 1,000 feet of irrigation tubing out. So we were looking for a name to call this place. The previous owners hadn't given it a name or anything like that. And my brother-in-law and I were talking one afternoon, and he had suggested the Breaking Wind Ranch because we have so much wind. And I wasn't real sure I wanted that inference.
No.
It could be taken a different way.
That's exactly why I didn't want that one. So, but because it is so dry here, we average between 6 and 10 inches of moisture a year, despite the mountains behind me getting anywhere from 200 to 300 inches of moisture in a year. 6 to 10 inches of moisture a year, it's just dry here. And so that's where we came up with the name Thirsty Dirt Ranch.
Awesome.
That's cool. Typically high desert, sounds like. Looking forward to it.
Right.
Beautiful backdrop you got there.
Yeah, it gives a whole new meaning to drier than dirt.
And Tracy,
Yes.
the photo behind you shows you the true fall color tour because of the beautiful aspens and all the colorations of not only the trees, but also of the Jeeps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This event is near and dear to my heart. And I will say this is going to be my seventh in attendance. So I'm excited.
Excellent.
That's almost half.
It is. It is.
So Mike, do you want us to show up at 2 a.m, or would you rather get there at a reasonable hour?
No, I would prefer everybody show up between 6 in the morning and say about 10 in the evening.
Okay.
If you show up at midnight, my electronic sensors will go off, and I will get up to go visit with you to make sure you get in the right place. However, my sincere preference would be show up during daylight hours or early evening hours. And it'll make it a lot easier for you to move in and assimilate onto the ranch. And it makes it a whole lot easier for me because then I can try to get a night's sleep in between each day's events.
Yeah, we always like to have, the trail leaders alert and awake.
Yeah, and pounding in tent stakes
Yes.
at 3 a.m. it doesn't make you a good neighbor.
Yeah, I don't know. Got anything else, Mike? Anything you want to let the people know that are going to be there? I can't wait myself. It's going to be a great trip, I'm sure.
No, I hope everybody comes with a good attitude. We'll have a wide range of flat fender Jeeps here. Some really well done modified vehicles, and more than a handful of just bone stock original looking and original setup Jeeps as well. So if you want to learn about Jeeps, now is a great time to bring your questions. If you got problems with your Jeeps, bring the question with you. And we've got hundreds of years of experience here in the people that attend this event, and most everybody is going to be very happy to help you with whatever your issue is. And that's the general atmosphere that prevails throughout the week. Very positive experience. People are here to enjoy it, and they do.
Yep, all smiles all the time, just like on Jeeping. All Jeep all the time. Mike, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I just need to say, leave the drama at home. This is all about the camaraderie, the learning experience, the history, all these things that you can take and pass on to the next generation. Let's keep the old flat fender tradition alive, well, and going strong.
Right, and for that matter, bring the youngsters. Show them
Absolutely.
exactly how it is. We may be getting gray, but the newbie time.
It sounds like it's going to be a great event, Mike.
Yes, I think so. We've got about 10 families that are coming this year. Some with younger kids, some it's just a husband and wife. And this is very much a husband and wife type of adventure too. There's a lot of women who participate here. Some of them will drive, a lot of them just along for the ride and the scenery. But it's not we don't try to build it as a macho bust them up event. This is a pleasure event, for everybody who participates.
Absolutely. It's a fun time. All right. With that being said, thanks for joining us. I'm Rick Payway for Gone Jeepin', along with Tracy Clark and Chris Collard. We'll see you at the Fall Color Tour.
Goodbye.